Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hello, good evening.
Evening to you, Diane. How are you?
I'm good. That is Dr. Melanie on the phone. We're going to have her to talk with this evening, but she's not going to be on Skype. Very disappointingly so, but anyway. So you won't get to see her face tonight, but we'll still talk about some deep things. Before we get into anything, I just want to remind you that this is the 8 o'clock hour of the Diana Wright Show Live. My name is Diana Wright, and we welcome you from around the world and in the United States. Our special guest this evening is Dr. Melanie, and reminding you, I am wearing my black shirt this evening, and this is one of the samples, of course, just to let you see what it's going to look like. And it's the International Day for I Love Me. This is International I Love Me Day. And we have the t-shirts in black, this is the wife beater. I normally don't say wife beater. I just call it beater, okay? Because, when I first heard that name, I was like, oh my God, scary. But then, I got used to it. So I just dropped the wife off and call it beater. So this is the beater. And then the one with the sleeve, which Dr. Melanie's getting, because she's a little more conservative than I am. She wears the one with the sleeve. And that's basically it. So we have white, we have black, and we have pink. 3 colors. The pink shirt is gonna, as of a couple of weeks into the season here, we're gonna change the color of the stone on the pink, and the white, of course, is gonna have pink stones, just the way you see it online. It's just that the lettering won't be the same. It will be down and bigger with bigger stones. So when you're out there, it's easy to flash, and no one has to squeeze their eyes to see like the sample I'm wearing, okay? So just wanted to let you know that. So also, don't forget that this is also my birthday. So that's the reason. This is my birthday, and that's the reason I decided to use this day as the I Love Me Day, because I figure we just make one big celebration and be done with it and get it over, okay? And also, I am proud to say that the shirts are made in America, and the quality is pretty good, because I would not have gone with it. This is my line. And as I was getting dressed this evening, I said to Lloyd, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have my own line of clothing that I'm wearing every day on the show? That would be fantastic.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, so guess what? I'm starting with the t-shirts. You never know where life and God takes you, because God has a plan that sometimes shock us out of our wits. Okay, so we just see how that works out. But I'm really, really, really happy to say that this shirt was made in America, because it's really important to me. I was one of those people who tried for years to boycott China, what is made in China. But then when I realized that everything that I bought was made in China, it became more and more difficult. So I even got into, conversations with people in different stores trying to get them to come over to my side. And when you look at the labels, Doc, everything is made in China. Even the food, some of the food you buy. It's like, oh my God, how do I do this? So welcome to the program. And also, let's see, some of the topics that I have to throw at you this evening. I just remind folks that I promised to talk about love, marriage, because today I was listening to Bloomberg Radio, and they were talking to a young man who has written a book about his younger generation. And what he was saying is that younger people right now are not rushing to get married like the older folks and have babies and buy a house and be permanent in anything. They're seeking to, and even if they don't find a job, they're not getting depressed. They're actually seeing how they can start their own companies instead of the older folks, or, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s are getting depressed because they can't find a job and that kind of thing. And I was quite impressed about it. Have you heard anything about this, Doc?
Well, I think in general, a lot of people are waiting to be older, in terms of women especially, are waiting to be, I guess, more professionally established before pursuing, marriage, and vanities for that matter. And just kind of on this path to self-independence. And so previously when it was thought that women would get married to have babies, and be the stay-at-home mom to raise their children and take care of them and, serve them hand and foot, that's not the mentality now. Now everybody is kind of on this kick where I want to do my own thing and I'm not going to have anyone dictate to me. And, I just want to find myself, if you will, before I get involved with, a man.
Yeah, and what he was also saying is that most of the young people now are choosing not to get married and not to become parents, for a while, a long time, as opposed to, in the olden days, people get married when they're 18 and 21 and that kind of thing. Never worked for me because I thought that was ridiculous. I think that, no, seriously, I planned my life in a way that I wanted to see, to travel, to do my own thing before I even go tie myself down. And even when I got married, I decided not to have a child until we were like 1 year enjoying ourselves, going places, doing things, because when a child comes into the picture, your life changes in a way that you don't even understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And I think everybody, just to add to that, I think everybody should take the time to enjoy and understand who you are as an independent individual before you get involved in a relationship that's going to be a long-term situation. Because, in many cases you have women who are pregnant and they say, well, if it wasn't for you and this baby, I would be doing this. And, the man kind of says, well, I had to put a...
Oops. Did we lose Dr. Melanie? Okay, Dr. Melanie, I'm sure she's going to fix that and call us right back. I don't know what happened there. So, okay, hopefully she'll call us right back. But just to let you know, I mean, I believe that when you graduate from college, first of all, nobody needs to get hooked up in any serious relationship while they're in college, high school, or any of those things, okay? So, and when you get to college, you meet different people, you explore more, you get more educated, you learn more things. And then you get into your career and you master that first before you try to lock yourself down into any deep relationship. You should at least be traveling someplace apart from America if you're living here. And if you live in Europe, you should try to expand your horizon to someplace else. Okay, so that's part of what we would like to see for our young people. But I was actually surprised to hear this young man saying, wow, our generation is doing much better than yours because, one, they are not rushing to get married. They're taking time. And I think if you can, as an adult, you really, truly should live on your own before you actually get married. Yeah? You should live on your own before you get married. Test the waters, see how you feel, see what's going on, and then you kind of, make the decision. Do you want someone to come and invade your space? Because marriage is hard. Relationships are difficult. Relationships are difficult because it's you living with someone else that you never lived with before. Okay? You adjusting to that person. Yeah? And you adjusting them, they're adjusting to you, your nuances, the way you put your pillow, the way you sleep and snore, the way you put your makeup in the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. And people don't think about those little things before they jump. Everybody just wants to get married. And I don't think people just want to get married so much. I think it's the wedding, the dress and the ring and that whole, scene that makes young people sometimes want to tie the knot, or even older people. And of course, some young people, they can't wait to have sex, so they figure this is the way to do it legally. Okay, Doc, we hope we got you back.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My line disconnected. My apologies.
Okay, all right. So I was just saying to people that I think a lot of women need to live on their own before they actually even get married, so they feel a sense of independence and I can do this on my own kind of thing. And I wondered what was your thoughts about something like that. People getting married at 18 and 21. I just think it's way, way, way too early to get married at those ages. I'm sorry. You know, people are saying, oh, you get married early because that means you're not going to go from guy to guy, you know, and you just will have one sex partner. Hello, when you date, you don't have to have some sex. Okay.
But here's the problem. You can get married early, but you know it may not necessarily be the person that's going to be your lifetime partner. That's the problem.
Ha ha. See, hey. So if you wait a little longer, maybe, just maybe, the marriage might last a little longer, don't you think?
Exactly, because in many cases, people don't necessarily have a sense of who they are when they're that young, and you know, if you don't really understand who you are, how are you going to be able to benefit or help the other individual?
Exactly, because like I was watching television the other day and there was a young woman on there and she just said, you know, everything was going wonderful with her and her husband, but she just decided that all the things I missed, we got married in high school, when we left high school, I missed a whole lifetime, I'm gone, bye. And just like that. And she said she felt bad because she had her children and she felt bad for the husband because he didn't really want the marriage to end, but she believed that she was missing a whole portion of life that she did not experience. And I thought to myself, why did she learn that now after she has 3 kids?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that. If you were to actually take a poll, there are a lot of people out there who have done exactly that. You know, they've kind of gone after, let me get married now so I don't make, you know, many mistakes in my life, or I don't have a life where I'm kind of running around looking for somebody, and I don't also have to deal with that loneliness. But the catch-22, if you will, to that is you don't give yourself the opportunity to understand and explore who you are as an individual when you get involved that early in your life. Because think about it, if you get married at 18 or 19, I mean, back then that was the instinct. But if you do something like that now, a lot of people would be frowning upon that because they would be thinking, well, you're a college-age person, don't you plan on going to college?
Exactly.
Most of you are in college and you decide all of a sudden to get married. First thing people are going to think is, who's pregnant while we're getting married at this age?
Oh, yeah. Is this a gunshot wedding?
Right, exactly. And, you know, I know that in my 30s now, late 30s, I definitely at 18 or 19 was not ready to be married.
And did you find that out on your journey now, later? As you know, as a doctor and your experience patients and their views and stuff, did you get to that place now, or did you get to it much earlier?
I think that I got to, I guess, a level of maturity a lot earlier than some people did because my parents are much older.
Oh, okay.
So, like you know, my dad currently is 89 years old.
Wow.
My parents had me at a later time in their lives when, one, financially they could take care of the family, and 2, emotionally they were ready for that.
Amen.
I think that's what's lacking now these days is a lot of people, they get the idea of being married or being involved or having, you know, a family, but emotionally they're not really ready for that. And so, you know, you'll have women who are bitter after having children in many cases, because they'll look at girlfriends and say, well, you know, my girlfriend and I went to school together, and imagine my girlfriend has 2 or 3 businesses, I'm doing this, you know, or my girlfriend's able to afford this kind of lifestyle, and if I would have waited, maybe I would have been in the same kind of category where I could do what she does.
Right.
But I mean, and there's this whole comparison thing that happens, and as this comparison happens, self-image starts to shift. People get to a point where they become disappointed with their lives. And at the same time, you might be busy, Beverly over here, looking at Carol over here, kind of lifestyle that Carol has, and you might want that lifestyle, but you don't know what Carol is going through over here to maintain the lifestyle that she has. So I think that's the other thing that's kind of wrong with society.
Yeah, that's right. And I sometimes believe, Doc, that a lot of women, it's not about the marriage itself. It's about the wedding, the dress, and the festivities, and the ring, and impressing your friends, and that kind of thing. I think people get caught up in that without realizing and seeing the forest through the trees, you know, and then they don't really know the person they're even getting married to.
I'm so excited that you brought that up, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend
Mm-hmm.
who met a young man. I'm not going to say what race she is.
Okay, no problem.
That doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there. Very professional people.
Mm-hmm.
Met each other through some event that they went to, and they ended up meeting each other and kind of taking a liking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
10 days later, this is a married couple.
Oh.
Keywords, 10 days, this is a married couple.
Wow.
Not only were they a married couple, the wedding was $30,000.
They got married after meeting each other in 10 days?
10 days.
10, the 10?
Yeah.
Wow. And they have a $30,000 wedding?
And here is what the logic was.
Oh my goodness.
Mom and Dad wanted this individual to be married because they wanted them to be able to have children and for her not to wait too long. At the time, this individual was in her 20s, early 20s for that matter. And, she thought this guy was just, he fell off the sky, landed in her lap, literally.
Yes.
And so she was very excited about the idea of getting married. And so her parents had already had money saved, because some families do that.
Yes,
they
some
kind of
families
have
do
money
that.
reserved. So the money was already reserved. So it wasn't something where, they went and borrowed money to do this event.
Right.
Well, anyway, the whole shindig went down. People got flown in from wherever, and, the whole wedding happened. Well, lo and behold, 10 months passed. So notice, 10 days, now we're at 10 months.
Okay.
She wakes up out of, I call it a fairy tale. Reality sets in, and she looks at him and says, I would like a divorce.
After 10 months?
Because he's figuring that this marriage is the real deal, and this is the one and final time as far as he's concerned because of how he was raised.
Mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, a year later, they got divorced.
Wow. That's sad, though.
And when you look back, because I'm telling you, this is while I was in medical school, everybody was busy looking at the pictures, right? Everybody was going over the pictures. Because this is something where these people are people with money, and they're able to get things done really quickly because they have all the contacts.
Mm-hmm.
I bring that example up to say this. You can spend $500 on a wedding,
Mm-hmm.
with a dress, a cake, a minister, and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you can be as happily married as someone who spent $40,000 on a wedding.
Yeah.
Why? Your value system
Amen.
keeps you married.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the show, because guess what? I am not going to spend money for the show, and at the end of the day,
Mhm.
people come, because I've seen it happen, where they come to your wedding and they say, oh my goodness, why did she pick a better dress? Oh my goodness, why did she do her hair herself? Why is she not wearing any makeup? Why does this cake taste like this? And I don't understand why she invited some of these people that are here to her wedding.
Yes.
You understand? So everybody has their own opinions
Mm-hmm.
while they're at your wedding. And your wedding is supposed to be an exciting day. It's supposed to be a celebration of love. It's supposed to be the people that are with you are the people that are going to keep you accountable in this relationship for life.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are on the verge of, I would like to entertain, and that's what we do. We entertain people, we entertain ourselves, and in the end, you have couples who start out in their marriage in debt.
Yes, amen to that. That is so true, so true. And if it's debt for a house, it's not even so bad, but it's debt for a wedding that people just came, ate, and drank all the liquor and went. It's like, hello.
And guess what? You
Yeah.
spend, let's say, for example, you spend a year. You spend a year planning a wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a wedding that could end overnight. I mean, a marriage that could end overnight.
Yes, simply. Yes. I've seen
And that's
many
what
of those.
happens, is people put themselves in debt for a show, and that's just it. It's a show.
Yeah, it is a show.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a show. It's a production.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. A production, a show. And I say to people, are you loving yourself first before you're getting married? Because I tell you what, if you don't love who you are and you go to dinner and you pretend like you're not, who you're not really, and that person realizes later on when the wedding ring is on, it's going to not go any place. I'm serious. It's just not going to go any place.
Funny, Diana. I was watching Wendy Williams. I think it was yesterday's show, actually. Anyway, I was watching Wendy Williams, kind of in passing. I was clicking through channels, and I saw her.
Right.
And she was talking about Michael Jordan, who just got married.
Oh, yes, he got married over the weekend. In Palm Beach, no doubt.
Talking about that exquisite wedding that took place, relatively close where he currently resides here in Florida, or at least, I guess, one of his homes here in Florida.
Yeah.
And she was saying the reason why she doesn't get invited to weddings is because she tells people exactly that you're wasting money.
Oh.
So Amy has been a bridesmaid in her sister's wedding over 20 years ago, and she said that's the reason she doesn't deal with going to weddings, and she's not invited to weddings by her friends because they know her feeling about it. And I would just say to people, be wise in your decisions. For example, my sister and her husband, they got married in her home, and they are going to be celebrating 15 years, and they are happily married. It's not a pretense, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're happily married. So I would just recommend to people that it's about the marriage, not about the wedding.
Exactly. It's not the wedding, it's the marriage, the relationship that you have. Seriously, it really is. Yeah. So, okay, so we started off there. We got to love and we got to marriage, and a lot of people get married for different reasons. Some people tell you they get married for money. They get married. No, honey, you can't get married for love. What could that do for you? And, people are just, I'm totally in awe, especially when you look at the movie stars. They just throw away that marriage in a minute. It's like, okay, guy, it's not working. Goodbye. See you later. It seems
it goes back to your value system again.
Yeah.
That's the brunt of where the issues occur, because people's value systems get shifted. Somehow when people get married, it's like a light bulb goes off and they say, oh, I'm no longer me. I have to be this person who is going to cater to this individual, and whatever this individual wants or needs or desires, that's who I'm going to be. But you have to remember, it's two individuals with different backgrounds, different personalities that come together. Hopefully there's some commonality between the two why you would get married in the first place. But there has to be something that's common between the two of you before you really go down that road, because the vows say for better or for worse. Well, most people, when the for worse part comes, they take a hike and they hit the road. And, sickness and in health, oh my goodness, all of a sudden he has cancer. There was a guy, there was a young lady I was reading about in Ebony magazine, where she said she had 4 different types of cancer, a black female, and she said when she got diagnosed with the first cancer, she was married 5 years at the time. She told her husband about this diagnosis, and, he was very supportive. Then she got diagnosed with a second type of cancer. He said, I can't handle it.
Oh, boy.
Then after he left and they got divorced, she got diagnosed with a third type of cancer, and then a 4th type of cancer, and now she's in remission from all of this. But it's just to show you that some people make those vows and they really don't mean all the words that are,
Exactly. They don't mean the words, yeah. Okay, so we're staying in the marriage field, and we are reminding you that this is International I Love Me Day. It's also my birthday, so we're celebrating today, and we're hoping that by next year everyone will be wearing their I Love Me shirts on this day to celebrate it. And ladies and gentlemen, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. Men, you're supposed to love yourself too. Don't let anyone fool you. You're supposed to be loving yourself as a man. Okay? Because a lot of men, if they were loving themselves, they wouldn't be chasing every skirt that's down the street. So, I'm serious. I'm just going to tell it like I see it. So we are asking you as guys to love yourselves also. Yeah, the t-shirts that we're going to order for you will be just saying love me. But the women, especially, I just think women have a problem with either neediness or desperation or something that gets them into these crazy relationships, and they do the craziest things for love. Like, I know of someone who would, if the guy went to a business meeting in another country, she would make sure she'll be on the next plane to go watch to see what he's doing. And I'm going, God, girl, you crazy.
But here's the thing to interject with regards to that, and it's a very powerful point to bring up.
Yes.
Number one, if you don't trust yourself, you're not going to trust anybody else.
Exactly.
So if you don't know of yourself as, or if you don't think of yourself as being dependable, or somebody that has morals, has values, if you're not somebody that you believe you're loyal, or you're able to be a source of encouragement to yourself, how in the world do you anticipate giving those types of services or providing that kind of support system to somebody else? The Bible is not twisted. The Bible says love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, there is no way on earth
you're going to love somebody else.
To express love to somebody else. It doesn't mean that people won't do things necessarily that might be a little bit irritating to you or something like that. But you have to know how much would you tolerate of yourself if you did that. And then you look and you say, you know what? There's certain things where, okay, we had an argument or we had a disagreement, and I have to just walk away, cool down, and come back and revisit that topic at a later date or at a later time. But not everything is going to go, sweet. Every day is not going to be a bed of roses all the time. Sometimes there's going to be thorns, cactuses, the whole 9 yards in the relationship. But you have to know for yourself that no matter what the situation is, you're willing to stick it out. And the only time I would say to somebody, revisit the relationship is if there's some kind of physical or verbal abuse. Then you really have to think what your value system is. That has to become an important part of your thought process, because at that point, when somebody is disrespecting you physically or verbally, then that's not acceptable on any level.
Exactly.
And if you don't value yourself, you might say, well, I can't really leave this relationship because, I'm scared of him or I'm scared of her, of what they might do or what they might say or how they might damage my reputation or something like that. What can I tell you? You can damage your own reputation by not doing anything.
Exactly. So, we're just encouraging women. We're talking about love. We got to marriage, and it's really crucial for us to discuss these things, because I think people are, I don't know if they're scared, because I think some women, they're scared that the guy that they're with, if they say certain things, he's going to go and find somebody else. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if he is not willing to listen to you and your concerns and your views, then you need to tell him to keep on stepping. I truly believe that because that's not the person for you. I'm serious. Yeah. So, okay, let's move to something else that affects marriage, because a lot of it is going on these days, especially with the economic downturn. I find that people are actually having divorced and living in the same house because the wife cannot afford to go live by herself, or the wife is getting the house and the husband cannot afford to go and buy a house by himself. So it's happening here in Florida and all over the country. I am actually surprised at the phenomenon. So people are not just living together and fighting and wanting a divorce. They're actually divorced and they're still living in the same house. And I thought to myself, how does that work out?
Well, it's funny. I don't want to bring this up, but I remember years ago watching an African movie. I can't even remember what it's called.
Okay, you watch those crazy African movies, Doc.
This is what's crazy. And what's funny? It was the last one I watched.
Yeah, because I watched one and I thought, no, this thing is too crazy for me to watch.
And I remember watching a movie, and they didn't actually get divorced, but the husband threatened the wife that he wanted to bring another person into the
relationship.
And
what is this, Newt Gingrich affair?
basically, he was cheating on her, and he wanted to make it,
a threesome.
Someone had access. No. He didn't want this other person to be a part of their relationship. He just wanted the wife to slide on over, and he would bring this other woman to be in the home. So that's exactly what he did.
What?
So they went to the lawyer with the hopes that the lawyer would take both their sides and give them their divorce as they requested. And so the lawyer said, I want you to try something. How about, and this was a tip for the wife, how about you allow him to bring this woman in, but you still do everything as his wife in terms of wifely duties and everything else that's attached to that, irrespective of the fact that there's a woman in the home. Okay, I know everybody out there listening is probably like, this is crazy.
Yeah, because I'm about to say, are these people crazy or what?
And so the attorney, in her wisdom, because she herself was married, said, this is what I want you to do. So the wife went along with it, and just imagine she's cooking him 3 meals a day, and he's a businessman making all this money and taking care of her very well, and he's also taking care of the girlfriend. So one day she sits down with the girlfriend and says, let's have a conversation. So the girlfriend is all intrigued, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she's entertaining me, and she wants to be my friend, given the situation. So the wife said, what can you do for him that I can't do for him? So she said, well, obviously I must be better at everything that I do because he's chosen me. She said, no. He didn't choose you. You're on a loan right now. So of course, this woman feels disrespected, and she kind of wants to go off, in terms of her verbiage with the wife. And the wife says to her, the furniture you're sitting on, I bought. Whether or not it was his money, I bought it. The bed you're sleeping in, I bought. And she went through a whole list of things. So at the end, this woman realized how significant her value system was in who she was as a woman, in who she was as a wife to this man, whereas the girlfriend was kind of feeling, very cheated and slighted and everything else. And she said, no matter what you do, you do not own him. Remember, in everything you're doing, you do not own him. Well, lo and behold, the wife and the lawyer schemed and brought some other guy to be interested in the wife.
So it becomes a 4-way circle now.
In the end, the wife got her husband back, and here's how. She began to dish out to him what he had been doing to her. So it was a tit for tat, which I do not recommend to anyone.
Exactly. We do not recommend this conversation to anyone, please.
Right, no. And so that's what happened. But in the end, the husband at a party saw the wife with this man, and she was all over this man in terms of being physically attentive to this person.
Right.
He became very jealous. Well, lo and behold, it turned out that the man was actually the attorney's husband. As if she was with someone. So she said to him, do you see how it feels now when you look in the mirror?
Right.
And you step outside the marriage in order to satisfy your physical, emotional, and
needs,
whatever other needs. And I remain faithful to you. I just played the role as if something was going on. And in the end, the husband felt completely like a fool and told the girlfriend, that she had to go and whatever. But in the end, they were able to restore their marriage because he started to realize how she felt about being quote-unquote cheated on. So I say all of that to say, whatever your value system is, that's not going to change. You might suppress certain things and tolerate certain things, but your value systems don't change. They're who you are. That's what makes you up.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to finances, a lot of people don't sit down and discuss finances before they get married. And so the wife has a secret account, the husband has a secret account, there's a Swift account. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
There are all these unresolved discussions that were maybe started, but, just never continued the discussion. Hello, if you can talk about sex and you can talk about how many children you want to have and you can talk about where you want to go on vacation, why not talk about money? It's a very important part of a marriage. And 90% of marriages now, that's the reason why they're actually falling apart. Because people are open and honest when it comes to money.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Divorce. I don't know. And it seems like some of these divorcees, when they're living separate lives under the same roof, some of them, we're told, are based on the story on the television. They actually get back together because because they're seeing each other live separate lives on the one roof. So everyone is appreciating what the other person was going through. So hey, here you go.
There's one person I met just to kind of close that section, I guess. But there's one person I met who married his wife 3 times.
Oh yeah, I know quite a few people like that. They've married twice and 3 times, and I'm going, wow, you spending all that money each time to do this thing? What's wrong with you? But anyway, all right. So let's get to another part of the whole love, marriage, divorce triangle: infertility. I think when I was growing up, I never. Maybe just because I didn't know or I didn't understand or what, but in America, it seems like women, if they can't have a child, there is this desperation by all means necessary to have a child. And I'm gonna break it down this way, Doc. And by the way, just reminding you that Dr. Melanie is my special guest inside the Diana Wright Show live at the 8 o'clock hour this evening. And you can give Dr. Melanie a call if you'd like to speak to her off the air at 561-434-5678. That's 561-434-5678. And it's West Palm Beach Family Doctors Inc. All right, so just letting you know that. And today is International I Love Me Day. It's my birthday, so you cannot forget it. Just remember 2 days together, my birthday, International I Love Me Day. And I promise you that if you love yourself, life becomes so much easier for you. And teach your children to love themselves. They will be able to handle just about anything that's thrown at them most of the times. So infertility, Doc, is, and I have here, let me tell you how I wrote it down, because I've seen it. I've watched it. I've seen women just devastated. I've seen, men devastated too, but not that devastated because they kind of look at it a little different way. So this is how I wrote it down. I wrote infertility. I wrote the difference for men and the difference for women. Because most of the times it seems like the men blame the women for the fact that there is no baby. And sometimes, believe me, I know for sure, it's the male sperm that's not behaving correctly. Okay? So I'm going to let the doc give her opinion on that. And then next thing I had written down is unable to conceive. Some women are unable to conceive, and then there are women who are able to conceive but they can't hold that pregnancy, like of course that young woman on Atlanta Housewife that just got divorced by her crazy husband. But anyway, that was one of the stories she told. She just could not hold that pregnancy in, and we've seen it several times on television. I can go through quite a few of them. So Doc, I just wanted you to, from a doctor point of view, how are we supposed to be relating to this? Because there's a distinct difference between how men handle infertility and women do. And is it most of the time the women's inability, or is it an equal thing?
Well, here's the thing. There are multiple stages with regards to, basically getting pregnant. I mean, everybody knows you can either have coitus or intercourse to get pregnant, or there can be implantation after fertilization into the uterus. So basically, in many cases, it's not being able to get pregnant 1 year after trying. So in a case, if a woman is 35 years or older and she does not get pregnant, that's also considered infertility.
Oh, so, you mean if she's 35 and never been pregnant?
35 or older, and she's tried in many cases, and there's no pregnancy that's occurred.
Okay.
Then it's concluded that she might be infertile.
Oh, okay.
A woman can get pregnant, but they cannot stay pregnant. They may also be infertile. So with regards to pregnancy, in order to get pregnancy to occur, you have to have the following steps. So, of course, a woman releases an egg from one of her ovaries. That's ovulation.
Right.
And then the egg passes through the fallopian tube, kind of swims its way towards the uterus, and kind of lands and lodges there. And then, of course, the man, from the sperm point of view, has some work to do. Because now it will swim through all the acid, which is what we have as a protective barrier as women in order to be able to fertilize the egg. So if the sperm is fortunate enough to do so, then the fertilized egg must now attach itself inside the uterus, and that's what you call implantation. So whether it's ovulation where the egg is released or the egg going towards the fallopian tube, so let's say you have a blockage of the fallopian tube, that can cause infertility. So any one of these steps being missing can actually result in a woman being considered infertile. So about 10% or 6.1 million women ages 15 to 44 in the U.S. alone have difficulty getting pregnant. That's for the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So you can obviously see that this is a grave problem.
Yes, it is. It seems like an everlasting big problem too, because, and I see women, and the women always look so devastated. I mean, and I'm going, well, maybe you're not supposed to have a child. I'm there kind of saying that because you feel bad for them. And then you look at the other side of the spectrum, that with all these young people getting pregnant and really don't want to get pregnant. And these married people are having such a difficult time, and you just kind of suck it all in, and then, okay, what's the result here? What do we do about this? Are people, is a woman able to say that she's infertile if she has tried for a year, or is it a 2-year process, or how is that supposed to work?
Well, here's the other thing we have to look at. About 1/3 of the problem is the female, another 1/3 is probably the male, and then the other third is kind of the combination, where the cause is really kind of in the middle and unknown. But if you think about men, it's either, for example, a man has a low sperm count, so you kind of always hear about that.
Right.
But sometimes that's the problem. The man doesn't have adequate sperm count, and it's like 1 million sperm go on a journey to swim out, and only one is going to be fortunate enough to fertilize that egg.
Right.
And so based on that alone can cause issues for some men. So when you start looking at the woman, and the woman actually, everything is normal, her tubes are normal, the structure of all her reproductive organs are intact, and she doesn't have any kind of disease processes going on, then you can rule out the woman as being the issue. But now you have to turn and look at the man. So when you look at the man, like I said, it could be the sperm count, and also sometimes movement of the sperm based on the shape of the sperm. Sometimes there's injuries or other kinds of damage that occur that block the reproductive system and cause a problem with movement of the sperm outside the male's body in order to be able, to cause fertilization to take place.
Okay.
And in some cases, some men are born with cystic fibrosis. So,
really?
If they have that particular disease state, then later in life, they might have an illness or other injury, but they can also become infertile because of that. Okay. And then sometimes people have what's called a varicocele, and that's where the veins of the man's testicles are too large. And so there's a certain temperature that must be maintained with the sperm for them to stay alive. And, if the temperature is incorrect, they always talk about, when you're looking at women who are trying to be in the right ovulatory phase so that they, you know what I mean? Likewise, the sperm has a certain temperature that has to be maintained for them to be, actually viable. And so when you think of all these different factors, those are things that you have to take into consideration as to why a man might have a problem. And sometimes, other things that can affect the sperm is somebody who's a heavy drinker, so heavy alcohol use, they're using certain types of drugs, or environmental toxins, or smoking cigarettes.
What about oysters? They always talk about if you eat some oysters, you will go home and you'll be good. I hear men talk a whole lot of crap.
Exactly. And I mean, some people, they get diseases like mumps. Sometimes, who have hormone issues, or kidney disease, or sometimes people have cancer and they're on radiation and chemotherapy. And of course, medications.
Okay.
So, there's so many factors to consider when it comes to why potentially a man might have a problem in that area.
Right. Okay. So it can be the men, it can be the women. It's not always the women, because people are always ready to blame the woman. I'm serious. Every single time there's a problem with conception, oh, it's the woman's fault. It's always her fault. And then, sometimes I've actually seen couples who can't get pregnant together, and then they split, and then that guy goes and finds another person, and that person, boom, gets pregnant. So sometimes it gives you pause to wonder, okay, maybe it was really her and she was trying to blame him, but how come he got together with this person and this person is pregnant, So there are so many facets of this whole infidelity thing. Okay, so let's kind of differentiate about the woman who, some women just can't hold the pregnancy, and what are some of the things that would cause that?
I just wanted to add quickly for someone who may be listening in terms of a woman, just to say really quickly, that in some cases ovulation is an issue. I think we were talking a couple weeks ago about Kim Kardashian's sister.
Right, Chloe.
So in some cases, some people have issues with ovulation. The hormone levels aren't right. So because of that, they're not able to ovulate. And without ovulation, you can't have any eggs,
eggs to go with the sperm.
To be fertilized.
Yeah. Right.
And then sometimes some people have what they call PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a hormone imbalance, and it interferes with normal ovulation. And so because of that, they might actually be unable to be pregnant. And then some people have, what they call early menopause. So because of that, they're unable to get pregnant. So basically, their ovaries aren't functioning the way it should before age 40. In some cases where they call primary ovarian insufficiency, that could be an issue. Sometimes there's blocked fallopian tubes due to pelvic inflammatory disease. Somebody had a history of chlamydia or gonorrhea or something, and all of a sudden, they develop endometriosis, and the next thing you know, they're now infertile and they're unable to get pregnant. And sometimes somebody was pregnant at one point, but it's an ectopic type of pregnancy.
Okay, that's the big danger one, right?
Right, that's in your tube. And I mean, obviously the baby cannot grow in your tube. The tube was not designed for that. So it cannot accommodate the pregnancy, and so they have to have a surgical, sometimes cases, emergency surgery to be able to remove that pregnancy, to undo that situation. And then sometimes there's just physical problems with the uterus. In some cases, there are people who have uterine fibroids, that affect their ability to be pregnant. So there's so many things that we have to think about, both men and women, that can affect your ability to be fertile.
Alrighty. Welcome again from around the world and in the United States. This is the Diana Wright Show live, and my special guest, Dr. Melanie. And Dr. Melanie is part of the group of the West Palm Beach Family Doctors, Inc., and her number 561-434-5678. That's 561-434-5678. And we remind you that this is International I Love Me Day and my birthday. And we are celebrating it, and we are showing off the t-shirts. Of course, that I wore black on Friday, I wore white on Monday, and I wore pink today, and now I'm black again. So just letting you see the varied colors. And of course, we hope that you will be wearing one next year, this time when we celebrate it again. April 30th is a very important day. It's the day for you to celebrate you and who you are, and be true to yourself and not try to be someone else. Be the person that God truly made you to be. And don't forget that big word that we use on this show every single day. The word is LOVE. It's 4 letters, but it's a big word. We all seek love, want love, but if we don't love ourselves, it's very difficult to receive the love that's going to come to you. All right. So I wanted to ask you this. If someone is 35 years old and wanting to get pregnant. They're married, they want to get pregnant, but they're having some difficulty. Is it necessary to start off the process of, before thinking that you can't have any kids, by having what's called a DNC? Is that a norm thing to do, or is it just got to...
DNC is like having, it's considered, a surgical intervention.
Uh-huh.
And you wouldn't do it. So for those of you, a DNC is a dilation and curettage. So you're going to dilate the cervix and basically suction out, if you will, the contents that you find thereof. Mm-hmm. But in many cases with a DNC, you always think of, somebody who had, like some kind of spontaneous abortion situation that occurs. So that doesn't mean you go to the doctor and you say, I want to have an abortion. But unfortunately, there's a loss of the pregnancy. And so in order to avoid that patient having an infection to set up, you do that. But just to go and have a DNC, no, that's not something that any normal gynecological or OB practitioner would be willing to do. One of the things you want to start out with is checking hormone levels.
Oh, okay.
So, and obviously the physical structure of the reproductive system is something else you want to assess. You want to go back into that person's sexual history and see if there's anything that you would be suspicious of. For example, if a patient says, I've had this many sex partners, and because I've had this many sex partners, I'm not really sure, what I may or may not have been exposed to.
Oh.
So, and then you kind of have to think about also her history in terms of menses. Does she have irregular menses, or her menstrual cycle normal? You know what I mean? Is there any history of early menopause or premature menopause that took place in her family? And then, of course, if there's history of fibroids. So there's so many factors that you have to look at. But the most important thing is always the history that the patient can give you. We've been trying for this amount of time. And then you look back in your family history, because maybe in some distant relative they had troubles getting pregnant and you just didn't know that.
Okay, so family history is important. I want to take a look at someone who has breast cancer and wants to be pregnant. Is that advisable or not?
I would not say to anyone that if they want to be pregnant and they have breast cancer, that is a bad thing. But one of the things you have to look at is if you have somebody who has an infertility issue and they're going to be put on hormones, clomiphene is the drug that is normally used to stimulate ovulation. But if you're going to actually have to put someone on hormones, that's something that you have to consider, because with breast cancer, the favorite hormone is estrogen. So it's something you have to consider, because there's some cases where, people would definitely say they want to get pregnant despite whatever medical condition they have.
Yes, exactly why I asked the question.
Right, because there's some people who have lupus and they know they're probably going to have a lupus flare and be pregnant, and it's going to be a very traumatic kind of experience because of, the flare up with the lupus and all the joint stiffness and pain and everything else that goes with that. Or even somebody that has sickle cell.
Right.
Sickle cell stresses your body while you're pregnant. So, I would never tell anyone that you cannot, get pregnant, or you should not get pregnant. It's not advised. But, you just have to work with the practitioner, whoever the practitioner is that's going to be taking care of you, the OB doctor. Then you just kind of work with that person and explain to them as much as possible that this is your desire, and whatever they can do to assist you in that area or refer you to whomever, you know what I mean? And they should, as a professional, advise you the best way they can, or refer you to somebody to be able to get the appropriate help so that you can have a baby. Because it's a beautiful thing to get pregnant and be able to carry a child to term, and be able to enjoy your child. So I think that's important.
Okay, all right. I wanted to ask you about a couple of other things I have written down here. And one of them is, I wanted to read you the story about the Egyptian bride who had to pay her ex-husband $7,500 after an Abu Dhabi court determined that she had surgery to restore her virginity, and she lied to her husband. So he sued her, and he won the case. But in the culture, which is, the Arab culture, it's embarrassing to marry to someone if they're not a virgin. And I thought to myself, You mean to tell me that over there they have all them virgins waiting to get married? You know, I just thought this was a very funny story. And then she also lied about the fact that she was married before, and he found that out too. So I just wondered how, because there was a big craze in the U.S. the other day that they were running and talking about it on television, where women can actually go and restore their vaginas and make it, you know, like virgin again and whatever, especially if they had a child and all this stuff. And I'm going, huh? What's this about? Is that real, or is that fantasy that we're living in?
No, it's very real.
Okay.
Just like the world we're living in. It's very real. But I'm going to say this. If I'm going to spend time trying to restore the hymenal ring, which is the protective barrier, if you will,
right,
with regards to the vagina and virginity, if you're going to spend time doing that, I mean, why not just be a chaste woman and just wait until
you find that guy?
That's it. I mean, to me personally, I'm not being judgmental by any means, but to me it makes no sense, because you're putting yourself at risk by doing surgery, because surgery, minor or major, is a risk, period. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so that's something you have to take into account, because if you're going to do a procedure like that, you're going to need to be under anesthesia. You know, so you're talking about general anesthesia for a major operation.
So it is a major operation to restore your virginity, is it?
I personally cannot tell anyone that I would be willing to do that. I would just tell Mr. whomever he is, this is where we are, this is where, you know, the relationship is going, and I'm very interested in marrying you, or whatever the case might be. But you have to accept that, you know, there were choices I made maybe early on in life that weren't the wisest choices. And he should respect you enough, and you should respect yourself enough to say, you know what, I love me just like, you know, today we're celebrating. And I understand who I am and where I am and what I'm about and what I desire. And so if you're not communicating, kind of like we've been saying over the last couple of weeks, you're not communicating with each other, the relationship's not going to go anywhere anyway. And it's like fake hair and fake nails. I mean, eventually he's going to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's not your hair, those are not your nails. You know, so it doesn't, to me, it takes away from the idea that he was looking for a chaste woman. He was looking for somebody that, you know, has never been sexually intimate with anybody to begin with. You know, and there's some people who say, oh, you know, I'm a second-hand virgin, or I don't know. I've heard all kinds.
Yes, there's a group of women now who have decided to go celibate for minimum 1 year, and then they say, oh, okay, I'm restored again. I really don't think so, but anyway, that's, you know, that's their prerogative to think that you can save yourself for a year and just come back and say, whoopsie, here I am, virgin again. I don't think that works, but anyway.
You can say whatever. I could say today, my name is Dr. Melanie, I want to be Suzanne. I mean,
yes, you know,
you just have to accept who you are and where you are in your life. And to me, you know, if you want to tell somebody that, oh, I'm, you know, a second-time virgin because, you know, all of a sudden I'm not having intimate relations with anyone, that's fine. You're entitled to do that, but don't think that the whole world has to accept what you just said because that's how you feel. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the person that you're with on an intimate level, you should be able to be open and honest with that individual. And if you have to change who you are physically by doing such a surgery in order to obtain that individual in your corner, I don't think it's worth it. I'm so sorry to tell you. I do not think it's worth it because you're putting yourself at major surgical risk.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, Dr. Melanie, I have one more question before you go because we're almost out of time. I noticed that organs are being manufactured. They spoke about the kidney the other day. I just watched the evening news, or was it CBS Nightly News, whatever, one of those this evening, and they were talking about, they were actually showing a baby that they built a windpipe and put it in, and the kid is almost normal already before, you know. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the manufactured organs, what they're saying is that if you have manufactured organs like the heart and the kidney, they say the kidney is the hardest and most difficult one, but they're working on it, then it would be easier for people who have these failed organs, and they won't have to be dependent on the donor list to get that organ, or depend on another family member to match, or whatever the case is. How do you kind of get into that?
Well, this is what I would say. I mean, there's native organs to your body. So in other words, you're born with your heart, you're born with your lungs, you're born with your kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or if you discover later on in life, you know, as they do ultrasounds on a pregnant woman, for example, you
Mm-hmm.
start to see certain features that would be concerning about that child, and you can advise the parents accordingly.
Right.
But the whole idea of manufactured organs, I mean, God says, before you were formed in your mother's womb,
I knew you.
Mm-hmm. And He knew if you were going to have 10 toes or 12.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, He knew every single detail about who you are. And I think sometimes this whole genetic engineering, if you will, I think sometimes people are taking this a little bit farther
Mm-hmm.
than what was originally intended.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if I were to have a child and, you know, let's say the child needed a kidney or needed something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you cross that bridge when you get to it. But
Right.
it's kind of like when you aim to manufacture a car,
Mm-hmm.
even brand new cars that you drive off the parking lot with can break down the next day.
Yes, that's true, because man made it.
Guaranteed. I'm so sorry. There's just no guarantee. You can't guarantee for sure that because this child is okay now at 5 years
Mm-hmm.
because of an engineered organ, at 10 years old it's still going to be okay. You don't know that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think we should just let life run its course the way it was originally intended,
Mm-hmm.
which is, as a pregnant woman, if you're fortunate enough to be able to be a carrier
Mm-hmm.
of a pregnancy, that you do all the healthy things. You know, you exercise, you monitor your diet, you make sure you get adequate sleep, you make sure you get adequate calories, you know, and your nutrition content is appropriate, and your weight gain and everything else that you have to do, because you're in charge of this life that you're bringing to birth.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
yes.
I think that's the way it really should be.
Mhm.
And I'm not getting a test tube baby that has blue eyes, you know, and long hair and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So because that takes away from the real intimacy that takes place when a woman conceives. And I don't know. That's just not something that I think I personally would promote or would be interested in, you know.
Okay, well, I just wanted to get your opinion on it, because I saw it today and I saw it a few weeks ago, and I thought, wow, this is an interesting thought. Manufactured organs, wow. Anyway, thanks, Dr. Melanie, on this International I Love Me Day. I thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you'll be blessed and continue to be blessed, so you can come and speak to us as a general practitioner, because there are very few of you guys left in town. And not just in town, in general, period, because most people, they you know, they're an OBGYN, or they're a cardiologist, and that's all they know, you know. So it's such a pleasure to be able to throw any question at you and you can give me an answer. So thank you for that. Final thoughts?
Welcome. You're so welcome.
Final thoughts before you go.
Final thoughts. I would say to any woman out there who desires to have a child, you know, who might not yet be able to get pregnant, you know, there are surrogate mothers that are available. In some cases, people cannot afford that. But there are many, many children out there, babies, for example, that are in need of love and attention. And a lot of people say, you know, I don't want to take care of somebody else's problem or deal with somebody else's issue. And if this child, you know, turns out to be a certain way in terms of their behavior or, you know, whatever issues I might have to deal with as they're growing up, I don't want to have to deal with somebody else's problem. You know, but you have to look at it this way. Love comes in different forms, shapes, sizes, colors. And so you may have the perfect baby that God may bless you with. and you may want to have additional children and you're unable to do so. But there's love to be spread to so many children that are in need. And I don't think sometimes being selfish, saying that I just want to have my own. There's nothing wrong with that. So God gives us the maternal instinct to want to do that.
Right.
But there's some of us that no matter how much of a prayer we pray, that is not something that God designed for you.
Yeah.
And we just have to get to that place because, we see teenage mothers now that are having babies, and some moms, who have the financial resources and other things, say, why couldn't I be the person that God blessed with such a child?
Amen, yes.
Well, you know what? There might be a girl out there who wants to have an abortion. Maybe you can be the one that takes her baby. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people out there that don't want to give up their child, but they also are looking for stable homes where they can get their child adopted.
Right.
And that baby is able to be raised, and sometimes they want to have no participation in that process. So if you really look at your resources, then there's a lot out there as far as options are concerned, and whoever the person is that you decide you want to have a child with, if you're able to do so, be very selective about the person that you decide to share such a task with, because it's emotionally life-changing to be a mother and to be a father. And if you do not have that bond with the person that you want to share that experience with, even if you want to be a sperm donor, because some guys do that, or some women are just into that idea of, I don't want the husband, I just want the child. Because I know somebody right now who has an 8-year-old who went to the sperm bank, got sperm, got fertilized, and that was the end of it. And she's very, very happy. She does not desire to be married or anything like that. So there's different walks of life and different paths that we're all going to take. But at the end of the day, can you say, I love me? Can you say, I enjoy being me? And I wouldn't change many things about who I am. Maybe I would change some circumstances in my life, but I wouldn't change who I am.
Exactly.
That's really what it's about in the end.
Amen. Amen to that. And thank you so much for your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Have a great week, and thank you again for joining us on this very special day, International I Love Me Day, and my birthday. All right?
Happy birthday again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the night.
Yes, I had a great day, a great morning, and I'm going to try to make sure that the night ends up good.
Good.
Thanks, Doc. Take care.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, that was Dr. Melanie, of course. Whoops, is there someone here on this phone here? Hello, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Dan. This is Marlene.
Hi, Marlene. How are you? Are you calling to wish me happy birthday and you're late in doing so?
No, I'm not late. I just called to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh, I thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. And I tell you what, this is, I can say, for the past 6 years, this is the most wonderful birthday I've had in 6 years. So I thank and praise God for it.
And I hope you to see many more.
I thank you so much, and I thank you, and I know your daughter had a birthday a few weeks ago, I think it was.
Yes, 22nd.
Right, so, and I hope that I know she was not under the right circumstances for celebrating the birthday, but God has her still here. So we want to just wish her happy birthday too, and all good health and blessings. Tell her to continue to open those boxes and see what she gets out of it. The blessing for each day. All right?
And continue to do what you do best. And we love you.
And we love you too. We thank you. And don't forget now, International I Love Me Day. So we're going to continue this because we are trying to get everyone, even your daughter who might not feel that she's well enough or healthy enough and she has her own little issues. We want her to love herself anyway. All right?
Okay, Diane. Thank you very much.
And thank you. And please tell her that for me. I want her to really get that and feel that.
Okay.
All right,
Stay sweet now. Love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much for calling. Yeah, so you hear, yeah, so even though you might be sick, you might be not at your best right now, just remember that God loves you, but you need to love yourself first and keep on fighting. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just don't give up. Please, I beg you, don't give up. Whatever it is your dream is or your passion is in this life, I'm asking you not to give up. All right. Nice way to end the program with a happy birthday from Marlene to me. And of course, she's also one of the board members of the Save a Life Jamaica Foundation, which is having their wonderful fundraising event in October 5. I ask you to circle that on your calendar along with April 30th. April 30th is now past because we're now going on into a new day, which is the 1st of May. And, we have lots of birthdays to celebrate in the morning, including my husband and my cousin in Atlanta, Marcia. So I have those 2 birthdays to celebrate. Then I have Chief Kweku in Atlanta. His own is coming up next. So, lots of birthdays going on. So people just need to be happy, give love, share love, and just enjoy the moment that you're living and you're having fun. Because the next minute, we just don't know what's going to come our way. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. We'll be with you again tomorrow morning with Wellness Wednesday with Dax Dunn. And we will talk a lot about, I'm going to get Dax to give me some more of that BOL because I have a theory for him. So I'm going to hear how he responds to that theory tomorrow. So you do join me tomorrow at 10:30. And of course, if you miss a show, don't forget, just go to my website at dianawrighttv.webs.com. And go to the bottom of the page, click on the YouTube icon, and then you'll see all the shows that we've done that you've missed. And just the way you watch TV and catch up on the shows, come on now, go to the dianawrighttv.webs.com and catch up on the shows that you miss. You never know who may have given a word that will uplift you and make your life just a little better. So, I love me, and I say ciao, and I say au revoir, and adios to you. And if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. Join me tomorrow morning at 10:30 when I will have Dax Dunn with me, and we will be talking about wellness because it's Wellness Wednesday. Have a great evening, and of course, I'll continue to enjoy the rest of my birthday. I thank you very much to all those who called in and all those who texted me today to have a happy birthday. I thank you and I appreciate it, and I love you all. Ciao.
Thank you.
My daughter said love you too. Okay, so thank you so much. Have a good evening. This little kid turned the lights.